The human experience is definitely an interesting one, and one that really you stood in line metaphorically to come in and take part in. In this video, I want to expand upon what it means to be human and how becoming or returning to our multidimensional selves has an effect or impacts the perspective that we've been feeling or experiencing our whole lives up until now. So when we were born, we focused our intention, focused our energy into this time-space reality. You came in through the sun as beams of light. The energy, infinite source energy that you are, was able to manifest in this universe, and it came in as light. And that light compressed as you approached the planet. You literally came in and approached the planet and compressed. You slowed down the photons, the particles slowed down and became something. It became matter. And in this journey from infinite source, outside of this time-space reality, outside of physics, you entered this realm and compressed and manifested a human body. Now, when you were born, the shock, the trauma of separation set in. We can't do anything as baby humans. We can't do anything ourselves. We can't feed ourselves. We can't clean ourselves. We can't keep ourselves safe. We had to rely on others to do that, and those in our vicinity, namely our parents. We relied on that, and that was all designed to ground us or anchor us into this dimensional field, to really give us a sense that we are this physical avatar and cut off from our multidimensional energy. Now, there is that cord that connects us always to our higher self, to our infiniteness, that which resides outside of this physical universe. That connection is always there. But as the attention was focused in through this human perspective, that seemed to have vanished. Now, as we go through a spiritual awakening, we start to reconnect with that. It's almost like we're standing at the bottom of the ocean and we've got this cord and we're breathing through it. We don't really know that that's where our breath is coming from, where our energy is coming from, somewhere up there. But we're walking around and we're seeing our environment through our five senses, but above the surface of the water, way, way up there. And if you look up, you really can't see anything up there, right? But deep in your heart, you know that there is something more. But way up there resides an aspect of you that is behind the veil of that surface of the water. Okay, we're underneath. We think our whole reality is what we're experiencing here in this little bubble. But as we awaken, we start to reconnect and realize that we, first of all, are in this bubble, and there is so much more of us that resides on the other side of the veil. Now, there's always information being transmitted from that space. It comes in as light. It moves through us, and it awakens aspects of our DNA that has been locked away or frozen for a long, long time. As that DNA wakes up, memories and remembrances start to come forward. We start to do the healing work. Our body kind of guides us through that process, shows us where energy is stuck, where we've got these aches and pains, where maybe our system isn't working as efficiently as possible, our immune system isn't responding as it should. We start to focus in on programs and limiting beliefs, and we start to lean into that and work through it. We accept all of that dense energy. That dense energy was packed in here by you, so that you can have this human experience. But awakening to your multidimensional aspects, to your multidimensional self, is something completely powerful and incredible. And this is the lifetime that you have chosen to do it. Many have. This is the Ascension timeline. This is the awakening, the great expansion, the ascension of the planet, the ascension of humanity, the solar system, and the universe, all rising in frequency. And again, how does this happen? Well, more energy, more soul energy, more multidimensional energy is streaming in to the cosmos from an infinite source field, and it is landing here in you. And you are essentially metabolizing that energy. Aspects of you, they're coming back online. And essentially, we're taking what was out there beyond the veil and bringing it in here and starting to live that way. So we're seeing a perspective. Okay, we've got this aspect of us locked into this avatar, and we're seeing reality in the universe through that perspective. Now, we know we have infinite aspects of us out there beyond the veil, okay? Not a location per se, but a different higher dimensional field. And as we start to awaken to our multidimensionalness from this human perspective, aspects of you that lie beyond, that were previously outside of your perception, they're previously outside of your reality, are starting to be able to enter your reality and make themselves known. Now, these aspects are you, aspects of you that are residing on a different frequency. So as your field increases in frequency and rises, start to vibrate faster, these aspects of you then are now able to start to manifest, and we know them as our guides. And we start to have communication with our guides. We start to be able to perceive them, and we start to be able to transfer information back and forth. Okay, this information is coming in again through the sun, coming into this physical reality. There are beings within this physical reality, really, that are on higher frequency bandwidths, that energy is moving down through and landing in you. And as it moves down through and lands in you, everything that energy has moved through becomes part of this physical body. So you start to be able to open up to it and perceive it. But in order to do that, you have to start to let go of the version of reality that you were programmed to believe is the one and only reality that there is. And that is what can be seen or experienced through the five senses. Okay, so as we continue to rise in frequency, we open up to this higher aspect of us, these higher aspects, our guides and things like that. New information starts to come forward. But it's very, very important as this process unfolds that you really embrace it and lean into it and start to allow your mind to expand as well. Your body's rising in frequency, information's coming online, you're starting to perceive it, starting to see energy, starting to be able to read your aura, you're starting to be able to read the room when you walk into it. But we're still living in a programmed three-dimensional state of being, okay, that we are leaving. We're loosening the ties to it, but yet it's still there. For example, UFOs, we've always been told are extraterrestrial beings. They're aliens, something from some other space, some other location maybe within our universe. We're presented with a picture of our universe that is so vast that we're programmed to think from the perspective of the human that beings must have traveled from one location to another to reach us. Now, the universe is so vast. And again, I'm talking from a human perspective, that when you look at it or take a bird's eye view or a 30,000 foot view, you might think it would be nearly impossible for beings, physical beings, to find us amongst all the billions of stars and planets that are in the galaxy, let alone the universe as a whole, right? Now we're thinking in terms of time, space, reality, third dimensional human thinking. Now we need to start to expand our thought process and lean into some ideas that maybe challenge conventional wisdom or conventional human thinking or conventional science. Example, UFOs, are they beings from another planet, from another galaxy? Are they beings that are right here residing on a different dimensional plane? Are they beings from a different space-time reality? Are they us from the future? These are just some examples of thoughts that you can create and bring forward to expand, to kind of let go of the chains that tie you to the conventional model of thinking. When we look at human history, you may think evolution, was the reality. Okay. But you could start to think that maybe something else happened. Maybe humanity was intervened by some other intelligent species. Maybe it was modified. Maybe we're hybrids. But when we take that perspective, we're thinking in terms of humans. We're hybrids, right? Well, maybe we're not hybrids. Maybe we're just the mix of all the energy that brought us here, the mix that anchored into the planet, you see? So we're starting to expand. When we consider ourselves hybrids, that's simply saying that we no longer really agree with the conventional scientific version of how humanity evolved. Okay. So does that make you a hybrid? It makes you something completely different, right? From what conventional science told you. Okay. So we start to let go of some of these thoughts and ideas. Time travel is another one. When we look in terms of linear time, we think of jumping from one time to another as traveling through time. Okay. But when we could expand a little bit and say, well, maybe all times are available to us in the present moment. Remember, I've talked about the hub of the wheel versus the rim of the wheel, and the rim being 3D space and the hub up the spokes being 5D space. From 5D space, you're in the hub. You can look down all the spokes and see many different points in time, right? That's a frequency shift. That's jumping to a higher frequency. And all of a sudden, linear time is no longer relevant. You have access to different points all in one. Now, are those different points in time? From the human perspective, yes. From the fifth dimensional perspective, maybe not necessarily. You see what I'm saying? So we need to start to allow ourselves to expand out of these paradigms that our history dictates to us, our science dictates to us, our physics dictates to us. Okay. We look in terms of how craft UFOs, UAPs can travel, and they can make 90-degree turns at a very high rate of speed. And we look at that, we say, well, that's impossible. That violates our laws of physics. Well, our laws of physics are fixed from a certain dimensional perspective, a certain dimensional field. Okay, if you have a craft that is not bound by those laws of physics because they operate at a frequency that is above that, we need to be able to expand our perspective and let go of the ties or the rules that were created in a certain lower level of consciousness. When you look up at the sky and you see clouds, and the clouds start to morph into a shape, and you're observing this, you start to allow this energy to come forward, and you start to observe, and you start to make sense of what these shapes may be. Instead of looking at them saying it's just mere clouds and it's the wind and it's the conditions, but you actually start to receive information with it, that is allowing yourself to expand. And when we allow ourselves to expand, we allow ourselves to access new information. And that's how humanity is going to evolve. We need to release those paradigms, the programming, the religious programming, scientific programming, and things like that, because the teachings, the things that we're taught, were created and taught from a certain level of frequency, a certain limited level of consciousness. And that doesn't allow for expansion. So when you are thinking about ETs and aliens, start to think that you have aspects that reside on higher dimensional fields, and they're now starting to be able to come into this space that we've created because we've risen in frequency and make themselves known or remind us of ourselves on different perspectives, different frequency bandwidths. That allows bilocation experiences. That allows being able to quantum jump, to shift timelines. And again, timelines, the human perspective, right? When we start thinking in terms of frequency, and we start thinking in terms of quantum, and we start thinking in terms of unlimited possibilities, timelines kind of dissolve. We're no longer thinking in terms of linear time. We're thinking in terms of unlimited experiences. So when you allow your mind to start to imagine possibilities, imagine things that may be contrary or contradict conventional wisdom or conventional science, that allows for expansion. That allows for expansion of the collective consciousness. Everything that we ground, we remember, we open up to, we can consciously make available to others who are tapped into the field through that quantum connection. So allow yourself to dream, allow yourself to imagine, allow yourself, very importantly, to challenge what you're hearing, challenge what you're hearing in this video, challenge what you're hearing in other videos, in other content, challenge what you read, challenge what you're hearing on the news. Think, is there another way? Is there another level of consciousness that can open me up to another way, to another possibility? When we get out of that linear thinking has very limited possibilities. Okay, when we get out of linear thinking, all of a sudden we expand into that quantum field, that field of unlimited possibility. And that's when magical realities exist. I've had experiences that defy science. Okay, why? Is it magic? Well, it can be perceived as magic from a lower state of consciousness. But as I've leaned into those experiences, they've expanded and new knowledge has come forward, a reconnecting with something that lies beyond this limited bandwidth of consciousness. Okay. And we do that by stretching our imagination and making us available to receive something that's new. Now, if you have something in your mind that's limiting you, when you start to try to have, an experience starts to come forward and your analytical mind comes forward and chokes it off, you're encountering resistance. You need to be able to breathe with this, create that space and let go. Become aware of those limiting beliefs and let go of those limiting beliefs. Loosen them just a little bit. You don't have to be radical and completely shed your limiting beliefs, but start to loosen them. And you'll notice that they will start to loosen even further the more you go through these exercises of allowing yourself to just imagine. Look at a cloud. Imagine that it's a craft. It might start to morph. It might start to provide information. It might start to speak with you on a higher level, telepathically, on a quantum level, intuitively. Okay, so we need to start to practice and create new habits about how we navigate through our day-to-day lives, through our reality, and be open to things yet unseen. Be available and allow whatever it is to come forward. You may have something come forward that you think is completely nuts, completely crazy. Allow it to come forward. Allow yourself to feel it. These are the seeds that are starting to germinate. And as you do that, consciousness continues to go like this. And what we once perceived as magic becomes your day-to-day life. That's reality changing. Thank you.